While the BRICS alliance is strengthening its banking system, the US seems to be on a downhill. In the last 3 years alone, 15 US banks collapsed, renewing fears of financial instability across the country. The BRICS bloc has pushed the dollarization efforts, especially since it expanded its numbers. Now the pressure is mounting on the US dollar as the country's banks face over $500 billion in unrealized losses, according to a new report. A finance expert at Florida Atlantic University revealed that the United States' unrealized losses on investment securities are over $500 billion as of the end of the second quarter of 2024. This is a slight downtrend from the first quarter of the year, a decrease to $513 billion from $516 billion. However, it is still a significant losses for one of the strongest economies in the world. Banks are now saddled with more than $500 billion on the balance sheets in their papers. The development shows that the US banks are at risk while the Central Bank of BRICS are massively accumulating gold to hedge against the US dollar. Rebel Kolb, PhD Lyon, eminent scholar, chaired professor of finance in FAU's College of Business. He says that despite the slight downtrend in unrealized losses for the banks between quarters, US banks end in the clear. The 10-year Treasury yield has been extraordinarily volatile for the past 2 years as inflation has increased. Banks are also affected by their exposure to uninsured deposits, so the combination of unrealized losses and exposure to uninsured deposits can be particularly pernicious. This combination can be especially lethal as the US dollar suffers as well from inflation and the BRICS pressure. Furthermore, the United States debt has continued to rise this year, past its all-time high. The current debt nationwide sits at over $35.7 trillion. Over the past 3 days alone, the debt has surged by a noticeable of $345 billion. The US government is currently paying $3 billion in interest on its debt per day. The increased debt and unrealized losses are only putting more pressure on the US economy, charging to US investors but to the pressure of the BRICS. While the unrealized losses are only on the balance sheets, they could become a liability when the banks require liquidity. This puts the US banking system under pressure as BRICS continues dumping US treasuries and the dollar. The BRICS alliance is also spearheading the de-dollarization movement by convincing developing countries to end reliance on the dollar, with more countries looking to dethrone the greenback. Further pressure could be put on the US banks and thus the entire US economy. So, you see, this is to tell you that at the end of the day, the de-dollarization agenda of the BRICS are bearing fruits already. And by the time they are going to hold their October summit in Kazan this year and add more countries to their ranks or to their alliance, it will make them far more stronger, and their chances of winning this de-dollarization agenda or winning this de-dollarization war will be far, far more higher. And the outcome of who wins the US upcoming election next month has a whole lot of role to play. If the new incoming president has what it takes to be able to battle the BRICS to win the war against this dumping or dethroning of the US dollar, has a whole lot to play. Yes, so it means that the BRICS will be paying very close attention to the outcome of the US election. And they are going to be equally monitoring the elections to know what awaits them, to listen to the promises these candidates are going to be making and how they intend to stabilize the dollar, what are their policies and how are they going to go about it. So, before the election, the BRICS are going to announce their blockchain payment, which is going to lead to economic shift and is going to bring more and more developing countries to join the BRICS.